Hi, everyone. Welcome to Diversity with Diana podcast. Today, I have an amazing, young, beautiful beauty queen. I must say, reigning beauty queen, all the way from Brighton. Her name is Danielle Evans. Danielle, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for having me on. It's amazing. I'm so honored to be able to chat with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So, Diversity with Diana podcast is a podcast that I started last year in 2020. The aim of the podcast is to amplify the voices in terms of good governance, tech innovation, and inclusive diversity. Today, we will mainly look at the angle of inclusive diversity by looking at the founder of the Rugby campaign, #TryMeDanielle. A little bit about Danielle. As beautiful as she is, she has a lovely story behind her. So Danielle was born at 26 weeks, weighing a mere of 0.8 kilograms and suffered a chronic lung disease. She has experienced a number of learning difficulties in school. But however, despite these challenges, Danielle continues to play rugby, continues learning, and hopes to be an example to many people who are struggling. Danielle graduated from Southampton Solent, achieving a first-class honors degree in fashion photography. She also graduated at Brighton Business School after obtaining a master's degree in marketing. I mean, you people, are you understanding the kind of guest I have in studio today? I am so excited. And the point of having you, Danielle, is to say that there are women, young women who are beautiful, young women who've overcome adversity, and young women who are doing great things across the world. And guess what? Whether you're a beauty queen or not, inside your heart, if you're beautiful, then you can actually make it. Now, let me give you a chance, Danielle, to introduce yourself to the audience. I can see 2 people already live and many more will be joining us. Danielle, take it away, please.
Yes, so I am Danielle. I am the reigning Miss Brighton GB, meaning I get to compete in the fantastic Miss Great Britain pageant, hopefully, all being well in September. And honestly, I'm just so honoured to represent such an incredible city. For all those that have never been to Brighton or don't know a lot about Brighton, Brighton is the hub of inclusivity, and we have our big annual Pride Festival. So it is an absolute honour to represent a city that really embodies everything that I stand for, about accepting who you are, no matter what your background, your religion, anything, you are accepted here. And, you know, the people of Brighton here are so welcoming, so friendly, and yeah, I'm just so honoured.
Okay, Danielle, how is it that you were able to get time? First of all, maybe before I go to your academic background, because I love the fact that you have 2 degrees and you're into sports and you're fighting it. I mean, I looked at your lovely photos and they're all amazing. But tell us about your childhood, your family a bit. Are you like a firstborn? Are you, what kind of family background do you have? And then before we go to your high school years and then what you're doing right now. Yes.
Yeah, so I was born at 26 weeks. So I weighed, as you say, just under a pound. I was in hospital or in an incubator for 3 months. I suffered, from chronic lung disease. I still suffer from it now. So if you can hear my breathing slightly off, it's because it's a long-term thing that I now struggle with. In terms of my family life, I am the eldest. I have 2 younger sisters who are amazing and who are very supportive and lovely. They're in their teenage years, so they're certainly very impressionable, and I love that I'm able to reach out to their audience and really influence them. I have my amazing mum, my nan, my whole family are absolutely incredible and very supportive of everything I do. And in terms of childhood, it wasn't the easiest. In terms, as you said, I had learning difficulties in school, so I struggled to process information. So if you would give me a list of 3 things, you'd say, Danielle, go upstairs, fetch me my coat and do this. I would only be able to do the one thing, and that was a real kind of struggle, and I got bullied quite a lot in school for it because of my breathing issues, and because I just couldn't process things like everybody else. And then I was moving schools, and this had an impact. But I like to think I've come over those things, and I think, well, as I say, I've got 2 degrees now, a master's as well. So that, and I'm also working on my 4th diploma now. So I don't let things stand in my way. And to be honest, things might be difficult, but I keep on going.
I mean, Danielle, that is amazing. This is truly, truly inspiring, even for me as the host of this show, because I have met many women across the world that have lovely stories such as yourself, but this is just inspiring, and it adds to our many stories that we feature. So thank you very much. I'm just wondering, as I listen to your lovely stories, so who's that female person that you've either looked up to, that, or the person that has held your hand and given you the permission? You know, sometimes as young people, we need to be given permission to excel, or permission to be ourselves. Who is that first person in your life, whether male or female, that gave you permission to be who you are and to overcome the challenges that were there in the early stages of your life?
Definitely would be my mum and my grandpa. Well, I'm very lucky that my family are very, very supportive, but the two people that, as you say, gave me the permission to absolutely be myself would be my grandfather, who's sadly no longer with us, but my mum as well. Honestly, I wouldn't be the woman I am today without them, because they taught me that, you know, it's okay to be different. It's okay to, you know, stand up for things that you believe in. And that is something so, so important to me, and something that I want to teach people, and a message that I want to tell, especially young girls and young boys. I think there's this impression that we have to teach young girls these things as well, but also the male population as well. Do you know, I love them for it. I honestly, as I said, I'm so grateful for them.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. Now, a bit academically, I would just love to know, because you majored in, is it social media or digital marketing? How did you find that, and how did your heart respond to that kind of profession? Because again, incidentally, when I looked at your CV, I was like, I did marketing in my undergraduate. This is like so weird that we actually sort of are in sync.
Yeah.
Where did you take that direction, and how are you loving it as a practicing marketer?
So the whole journey, so I never wanted to become a social media executive. I sort of fell into it. So my first degree is in fashion photography. I've always been a huge fan of fashion. I love it. And I used to spend all my days in the studios with the camera, and I'm very creative. But I also found that actually, whilst I loved the creativity of the photography, there was something missing. And I actually took a business course in my final year, and I loved the idea of being able to market the clothes that I was taking pictures of. How would I get it in front of people? And so then I started taking a couple of volunteer roles at local photography clubs and running their social medias, and then I ended up loving it. And then when I got my first in fashion photography, that opened up a lot of doors for me. And I thought, right, where do I want to go now? And then I fortunately and very gratefully got a scholarship to study at Brighton Business School to study marketing. And then we could choose a specialty, and I decided to go for digital. And then obviously since graduating, I've then become a social media executive for a local housing company here. And I absolutely love it. And the reason why I love social media is that it's forever changing. You know, the rules, they're constantly going. So like yesterday's news is old news, and it's always developing, and it's always so creative and so much fun. You're never bored. You know, I'm constantly thinking of new ways of how to reach people, you know, not just in the housing market that I work in, but particularly with my campaign that I'm working on as a title holder. How do I reach people, you know, all across the world, you know, and that I absolutely love social media. You know, I think it has some pros and it has some negatives as well. I think teaching people how we use it in a good way, because I think, you know, especially in this day and age, so I think people have quite a negative stereotype of social media, and that it's a very negative world. But actually, it wouldn't have allowed us to speak, would it? So I think
it wouldn't.
The right way and how to use it for good.
Right. And thank you so much for that, to just highlight the negative side effect of social media. And as we're actually going into that, the topic of this day's discussion is women in sport, because you're a woman in sports, you're a beauty queen, you're a marketer, you're a title holder, a beauty pageant queen this year. And I just want to talk about some statistics that I found when I was preparing for this podcast, in such that whereas men are more likely to engage in sport or physical activity to have fun, which is actually 33% of them, they want to be with their friends and to improve their physical performance. When it comes to women, we're more concerned about controlling our weight or to improve our physical appearance. And therefore, we're not having as much fun as men do when they're doing sports. Now, I know that you are a body image advocate as well. So do you want to tell us a bit about that as then you lead us into a conversation to look into your campaign? What were your targets, objectives, and what did you accomplish in your campaign that you did? Yes, Danielle.
So I launched my campaign last year, and then since then it's kind of gone amazing. It's incredible. But as you said, I am a huge advocate for body positivity. So I'm not a stick thin girl. I have curves, and you know what? In the past, I always used to think, God, I wish I was skinnier. I wish I was slimmer. But actually, I've come to accept and love that this is who I am, and it's something that's really important to me, and particularly merging the two worlds of pageants and rugby. And that's why I set up the Try Me campaign, because I wanted to show people that, you know, just because you enter a pageant, you know, you don't have to be stick thin and be this certain way. And in rugby, you know, you can be a girly girl, and, you know, you can be feminine, because in rugby, the whole, what kind of initially started off was in my first year of rugby, I had a lot of stereotypes, you know, thrown at me going, oh, do you play real rugby? Do you play, you know, do you play full contact, or is that just a men's thing? It's like, well, no, we play exactly the same, you know, just because and I do, and I understand that those statistics when I'm listening to them about women doing sport to lose weight and, you know, not, and losing the fun out of it. And I think that's really sad. Don't get me wrong. I think keeping fit and keeping healthy is very important to me, especially, you know, with my lung conditions and things. But I'll say this to you, you know, I'm never going to be a star player in rugby because I do have these health conditions, but I do it because I enjoy it, and I stick with rugby. And, you know, people always go to me, oh, why are you playing rugby if you've got a health condition? I said, I do it because I enjoy it, and the support that I get from people. And, you know, that beats any, you know, health side of it, if that makes sense. You know, the things that I've made out of it, and, you know, and I've just gone and showed people with this campaign that, you know, people assume that rugby players are aggressive and nasty, and all we do is drink alcohol when we, you know, knock people to the ground on the pitch. But actually, I've met some of the most kindest, supportive people in rugby, and you know, and it's so important to break those stereotypes, because I think if we break down those stereotypes, the more people, they don't have to necessarily enjoy rugby. They could join any sport. You could be you could do knitting and be a wrestler. I think it's about, the whole campaign is about breaking down those stereotypes that, you know, a woman can take up space in what is considered a man's sport, and, you know, it shouldn't just be a man's sport. It's for everyone. And I think what I'm trying to achieve is taking up space where you wouldn't initially think you could, but actually you can.
Oh, that's lovely. So tell us about the numbers then. How far were you able to reach, and what are the feedback that you got from the people that participated in the campaign? And I'm also curious, did you actually have people in the campaign responding or engaging with you from Africa?
Yes, actually. I had people from all over the world. It was incredible. I think it was in its first 2 months, we reached 60,000 people, and that was with no paid advertising, nothing like that. It was all just word of mouth. I had people from all across the world sharing their stories and going, yeah, I want to feature in your campaign. So I did it in 2 ways. So I did an online part, so where I included player profiles, and that's where I asked people, mainly from rugby, but it was open to anybody, to send me a picture of them, you know, at rugby on the pitch, you know, obviously covered in mud, playing the sport, and then them outside of it, you know, and so it showed people the contrast, you know, saying, look, this person could be feminine, and this person is a businesswoman, she does this, she's a mum of 3 kids, you know, but she's also a rugby player, and this is her. And then the other side of it, before COVID, I was actually going up and down schools in the UK and clubs and giving talks to teenagers, and I actually even gave a talk to some 5-year-olds, which was quite interesting, because I think especially at that age, they were like, but you're a princess and you play a sport, how does that work? And I thought, but you can. So you know what I mean? So I think the campaign reached, I was very lucky that it reached such a wide range of people, from those as young as 5 to those who, you know, didn't have the knowledge about it, because I spoke to those who are very big rugby fans and very big pageant fans, and they were very in their ways of thinking. And I said, look, I respect your opinion that you believe a pageant girl should be stick thin, she should be this type of way, and then on the other side of it, I respect that you think a rugby player should be this way, but let me show you why, you know, let me show you a different perspective. And that's what I did with the Try Me campaign. It's about educating people, and you know, I'm so grateful for the response I got. It was just incredible from everybody. I even designed my own sports kit with a fabulous company called Scrum Bum. They design women's rugby specifically for women, because rugby kit in general for men, it just doesn't fit the women's body. It's not suited to the curves. It's not, and you know, so that's why I really love Scrum Bum as a company, because they designed kit specifically for women. And when I asked it, well, when we joined together to collaborate and make a kit, that was amazing. So, and loads of people got it. That I had someone in America, I believe, buy it as well, and I was like, wow, somebody's wearing my kit and spreading that message. It was incredible. I honestly, I think I say incredible a lot, but I genuinely am so humbled by it. Little old me. I came up with the Try Me campaign when I was sitting in a cafe, you know, just before Christmas in 2019. And I thought, imagine if I just, you know, just went out to the Brighton community, but it just went worldwide. It was incredible.
Wow. What kind of support did you get from your community? Did you get the support from the rugby community? Did you get it from the beauty community? Or where did you get your first help to be able to launch this campaign?
It was from everybody, and mainly the rugby community. That's where it first initially set off, because it was all about, you know, getting in with the schools and things. They said, look, we have a fantastic physical education department. We really love you to come in from there. So I did a fantastic. I went to a ladies' lunch in Wyndham, which is in the north, and spoke to their women's rugby team to help promote the sport even further, and that was fantastic. So mainly, I had support everywhere, but the rugby community, I was a little bit nervous initially about, you know, going into this rugby community and going, look, I'm a beauty pageant queen, and I'm part of your community, and I want to try and do this. What do you think? And I was only expecting, you know, some people to go, oh yeah, this is a nice idea, but literally within the hour, I remember in that first announcement that I did, I had over 100 messages, you know, and I was like, wow. You know, people are really interested in this. And I thought I was the only one that sort of felt like this. But actually, it's surprising how many people wanted, and it sounds a little bit vain, but wanted a voice like me to be able to go, these are the stereotypes and we want to break them. Someone was like, yes, we're glad we have someone that's going to go and break stereotypes.
I think it's amazing what you do, and just even being able to restore the dignity among young women, because you can imagine how difficult it is when you're moving into puberty and into young adulthood, and changes are happening physiologically. I mean, I would tell you that, for example, there are people who remain skinny and are still body shamed just as much as any other girl is being body shamed. And the role of sports in inclusion, how do you link those two? Because you said Brighton is an inclusion and diversity hub. Do you want to substantiate that and then come back to sports and speak about inclusion in sports?
So Brighton in itself, as I said, it is such a diverse space, and I think that's really helped me in terms of getting out there and the support from the Brighton people as well. Even just being Miss Brighton, you know, don't get me wrong, you get some comments, you know. So I had an article come out when I was announced as Brighton, saying that you know, oh, you're fat, you know, you're a larger girl, and that was quite. I was like, you know, and it was quite hurtful, and you know, I couldn't sit here and say, oh, it didn't get to me, because you know it's, and you know, when you're trying to do good, you know, it's very, and sometimes it's quite upsetting when somebody doesn't want to accept you for who you are. But amongst that was only 1% of people, but the rest of it was so incredible and supportive, and actually said, yeah, actually, it's so refreshing to see somebody who, and I hate to see the word, you say the word normal, because I think that I don't think there is a normal body shape. I think everyone is beautiful. You can be skinny, you can have curves like me. You are who you are, and that's about accepting that. The word normal, but I think it was nice to see the response of women and young girls going, oh, she looks like me, you know, and that was really lovely. And then, so it's finding that inclusion in Brighton as well. So that was very nice and supportive. In terms of sport, I think I was having this conversation with one of my role models in rugby, Z. Now she's a Black Muslim woman who's trying to play for the England women's team. And I was having this chat with her about what we could do more in sport in general, not just rugby, but anywhere to get to include that diversity, because I think the rugby community is doing very well at promoting the fact that, you know, we're a diverse community, we're a diverse sport, but whether we're actually doing it is another matter. So, you know, people from, say, perhaps slightly lower classes who've never even touched a rugby ball before, but don't have the opportunity to. And so this is one of the things I said to Z. I said, we'd love to go into one of those communities and go, look, here's a rugby ball, let me teach you. And, you know, if we can change just one person in that community's life, then fantastic. I think there's this assumption, and I think the assumption is quite right as well, that at the moment rugby players are kind of one kind of class of people in that sense, that they're all, you know, you don't see people from those slightly lower classes, which is such a shame. And, you know, and because it's a sport that is open to everyone. And I think, and I think a lot of sports are like that. And I don't think there's enough opportunities to promote the diversity in it. I think we're making steps, but
okay.
There's not enough. There's not enough, which is why I'm here.
So you've actually mentioned something that is I find interesting when I speak with people from the United Kingdom or from Britain in general, and you've said something about lower class in terms of economic status. And when we speak about diversity, we mean inclusion of that. It could be racial biases, it could be gender biases, it could be ageism, like discriminating against either the older people or the younger people. It could also be the economic status. I don't think in Africa we have the lower class sort of maybe terminology, but we would say the vulnerable communities are also assuming that maybe certain sports activities are preserved for the economically well-off kind of people or kind of groups. And what we have done, I actually work in a foundation in the civil society. And what we do is that we are trying to mobilize resources from development partners to be able to build basketball courts in the communities. That way, we introduce that kind of sport. So I was actually going to propose to you that, Danielle, this could be an opportunity for you that, guess what? You actually have, what are they called? Rugby pitches in the communities that you think are excluded from this sport. And then probably it could be like one of your missions or, something that you could be working on. Yes.
Absolutely. And I have to apologize, perhaps the wrong terminology there, but definitely as you say, the vulnerable communities, I've had people, how I came to that was there are people who, rugby balls and rugby equipment's quite expensive. And, I'm not rich. And there are people who are struggling, particularly at the moment with COVID and people's certain situations, job-wise, money-wise, has changed. And that's so unfortunate that those who have come into financial difficulties, should I say, lower class terminology to use, but are struggling, that are now not getting the same opportunities. And I think that's really sad and really unfortunate. So, and that's where I want to go, as you say, go to those communities that are struggling, you can have the same opportunities. It doesn't matter your financial situation, whatever situation you're in, you should still be able to do the things you want to do. Doesn't matter. I've personally struggled with financial and economic, difficulties and strains, especially during COVID. And, I lost my job last year. So I know what it's like to be in that vulnerable situation. And, I would hate to not have the opportunity to do the things that I want to do. And so that's what I mean from that. I hope that I don't want to offend anybody by saying lower class. That's not what I meant in the sense of that I see myself as anything like that, but it's giving those opportunities to those people.
No worries. No. I totally understood you. I just wanted to make that clear for anyone who would be watching tonight. Maybe tomorrow they'll have a chance to watch it and say, "Oh, the beauty queens think that they're, they're in this." Not at all. And just speaking into the economic difficulties that you may have experienced and you lost your job last year, that is actually the same thing that happened to me. I mean, last year was a very difficult year to everybody. We had to downsize on so many things, including what we spend on our daily expenditure. And that would actually mean that, looking at sporting activities and stuff, that's not like a basic human need. You need food, you need, clothing, you need a house to go back to. And
not sure what happened there.
Sorry, I think it's my internet. That's actually what happens when you're broadcasting live. Now,
live.
Right. I can see that there's a civil society organization that was waiting for this broadcast 15 minutes before we started. I'm just looking at the comment section, and I can see Olympia Gold Real Estate in Kenya that also has given us claps for the discussion that we're having. So thank you guys for those who are tuning in live. We are still in the middle of our discussion with Danielle here. Thank you for just being candid with us. I mean, what we're discussing right now is very real. It's not that we're discussing about things that don't affect people on a daily basis. Being women in sports, being even just young women, means that sometimes we're excluded from opportunities, or we're working in a space that is designed to make men thrive and therefore excludes us. And this could also, later I will have a discussion about inclusion when I'm with regards to people living with disabilities. But for this discussion, it's just to say, to look at your journey and where you have come from. And because you're a young lady, I'm going to ask you to forecast the next 5 years of your life. What do you think you will be doing, Danielle?
Oh, that's a tough one. I hope to be, well, I'd love firstly to win Miss Great Britain. I can't say that I don't, because I think with that title, I think there are so many opportunities to achieve the message that I want and have a wider, reach a wider audience and have a bigger voice. I think I'm very lucky with the platform that I have as Miss Brighton, but I think as Miss Great Britain, there are opportunities there to, as you say, really help the vulnerable community, particularly in promoting diversity. And that is something that's really, really important to me. And to be able to be relatable to those who feel like they don't belong somewhere, as I was saying to you just before the live when funny, I have been in so many different situations myself where I felt like I didn't belong, or financial strains have caused difficulties in my life, or things like that. And I want to be that shining example and that hope to somebody, even if it's a young girl or a young boy thinking, look, I don't belong in this world, I don't belong in this community, I don't belong doing this. I want to be, well, yes, you can do it. You can be whatever you want to be. You can play a sport, and also going on to that, just, there was an interesting discussion the other day where a young girl said to me, the men's rugby was on telly, because we had the Six Nations over here, and it was broadcasted on the big BBC channels and things like that, but the women's game wasn't. And she said to me, well, why isn't the women's broadcasted? And I'm like, well, that's a good question. It's not equal. And I think that's very sad, because I think that if we started promoting the women's game the same way we promoted the men's game, I think we'd get a lot more interest. But then, having said that, I think with the men's sport, I think it is very much all this money is thrown into advertising. And this is nothing against men's sport. I love watching men's rugby. It's fantastic. I love it. I'm a huge fan of the Six Nations. But I think there's so much more done with the men's games, and I think there is there's a more opportunity to be able to promote women's sport, and I think we could be doing more. Just showing it on just simple things like showing it on the main channels for people to watch.
Oh, that's interesting that you're saying that. Your campaign, like I'm just looking back at your campaign and how your kind of work and projection for the next few years would look like. And I want to see, or I would like to see, not I want to see, but I would like to see how you are going to probably incorporate people beyond the United Kingdom, maybe to, South America, or, Asia, the Asian continent, or even Africa. What are some of the things that you think, could be done in a policy level, whether it's in different ministries, in our different governments, that could actually encourage the participation of women in all sports, as opposed to, when I was actually doing research again for this podcast, I just Googled, I searched for women in sports, and I said, what kind of conversation could we have around this? And one of the Google recommended questions that popped up among the first page responses was that, what sport should a girl play? And I was like, really? In 2021, people have been searching about what sport a girl should play. So I don't know if you're in a position to say, in a few years, I hope to break these stereotypes by actually saying that we don't need to be asking that question. Girls can play whatever sport that boys play. Yes, Danielle, go
Absolutely.
ahead.
I think that's a fantastic idea. In 5 years, I would love in this space, I would love to be going around the world and, you know, and going to education ministers here, even just starting with the UK education sports minister here and saying, look, we need to be promoting more opportunities to get girls in sports here, you know, and promoting the positive things about it, you know, and then moving that on to the world. Because I think, you know, as you say, the education system plays a huge part in that first initial step to getting people in sport. Because if you look at a lot of well, at least in my eyes, rugby players, a lot of their inspirations have come from PE teachers in their schools, and you know, and I'm sure that's the same with a lot of other sports if you go and speak to other people. And I think I would love to go to people all around the world, because, you know, people's education systems work differently in different countries, and I think there is find that unity in the sense of going, look, we need to get girls in sports and stop breaking that stereotype that, you know, you have to be a man or a boy to play football. You know, some of them, I know some incredible female football players, and I think it's about, you know, maybe even perhaps doing mixed. I think that's a way forward that people haven't really considered, because I think you tend to mix, don't you, as genders, but in primary school here, and it sort of then branches out into going, oh, then you've got female rugby, and then you've got men's rugby, and you've got football, men's football. And I think it would be nice to just have a, you know, have a team that includes both genders, and then I think that would help stereotypes as well. I think, it's such a difficult question, but there's so much that could be done, and I think you know, going to schools would be my first thing that I want to achieve, is start with the younger generation. And then so maybe even going to those, you know, slightly older and trying to introduce them into sports that might be suitable for them, in the sense that, you know, my nan, bless her cotton socks, 85, I know that she could kick a football if she wanted to, maybe not up and down the pitch, but it's just, you know, not being restricted by age or gender. I think that's something that we need to try and do more. Encourage more sports people to go out into these countries, work with them, workshops, free workshops if they can. You know, there's so much that can be done. But I would say schools, big thing.
Absolutely. Schools are a big way of getting into even just the communities. I mean, from where we are here in Africa, sports or sporting activities has done so much for people, especially in the communities. And this is through ensuring that they have an economic means of earning an income. If they join a club, a football club or a rugby club, and they're able to make some money, that has actually been able to put some food on their table. Additionally, it has actually removed the idle youth from the streets. So what that has done is that there's actually research that we're doing as a foundation that is trying to track the kind of activities that the youths who are currently now playing in our football club and the basketball courts that we have built, what the impact would have been had they not had our intervention of coming to the community to set up the football club and also to build the basketball courts. We've seen that if we didn't have that intervention, it is still an ongoing study, but if we didn't have that intervention, then they would be involved in petty crimes. Some of them had already served time in the prison system, and therefore, again, the need here in Africa to engage the young people, especially in the communities, in sport, is to stop the increasing crime rate, also help them and help empower them economically. And of course, the thing that you said, it's on a health level. Yes, sports keeps you healthy, and also mental stability. Have you ever had, sorry?
So I was just agreeing with you. Yeah, absolutely. You know, the mental benefit from it as well. You know, even just going for a walk. But I think sports plays a huge part. In keeping people happy, because as you say, it gets you. When I'm on the pitch, I don't think about anything else but in that game. I'm with my friends, and that is something. As you say, those who perhaps struggle, and then perhaps do get involved in those petty crimes. It gets involved in a cycle of not being able to get out of it. And I think sport and a club offers you that safe haven to feel supported by people and focus on just that.
That's right. I mean, Danielle, I just want to tell you that you've made a new friend here in Africa, in Kenya, and I would love to support any campaign that you may have, especially digital campaigns, whatever I can help, I would love to truly support. Now, do you have any parting shots that you want to tell us, that you think maybe I haven't asked you a direct question of something that you feel is important in terms of diversity, inclusion, and women in sports that you want to talk about at this point in time?
I think ultimately the overall message is that I want to give people is that, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what your financial situation is, what your background is, what your religion is, what your race is, what your weight is. You should not be defined by those barriers. In fact, don't let barriers exist. Don't let them. I always say to people that stereotypes only exist if you create them. Barriers are only there if you put them up. And I know from experience going to that first training match, and going and trying something different is always incredibly scary, and it's always very nerve-wracking, but I guarantee you that you're not alone. You will feel supported, and nobody's going to make fun of you. Nobody's going to think, you're a newbie. Honestly, sports has changed my life, and and that sounds a bit cheesy, but I am so thankful to feel accepted for who I am, and I know that if I was to go and join a football team right now, it'd be exactly the same. It's not just rugby, but the fact that I can be absolutely unapologetically me and do the things that I want to do. My rugby team are incredibly supportive. They accept the fact that I, can go and do beauty pageants, and I think, be whoever you want to be. You can be a businesswoman, do whatever. And I think that is so important. And I think we hear it quite a lot, that you can be whoever you want to be, but I think it's actually going and doing it. Go and do it. Don't say, I'd love to be that. Don't say you'd love. Go and do it. Do it.
Yeah.
But honestly, my inboxes are always open. As you know, I'm on social media everywhere, and to anyone, whether you're in the UK or all the way out in South Africa, wherever you are, if you ever need somebody to talk to and go, actually, Danielle, I'm a little bit nervous about doing this. Can you give me a call? I would love to get your advice on something. I'm always at the end of the phone. I'm always here for people. And, if I can help even just one person get out and do the thing that they love, it doesn't have to be a sport, but whatever they want to do, that would be amazing.
Danielle, this is amazing that you're able to do so much. It's really amazing. I mean, it would be unfair for me not to ask you this question. So how do you do it? How do you give us a look or a preview about your week and how that looks like? Because people will complain, I have a job and I have school and I don't have time for beauty pageant. I don't have time for sports. So how do you juggle all these balls? I mean, I know it's possible, but just tell our viewers, those who are viewing in now or those who will view later, how you actually get it done.
It's busy. Don't get me wrong, it's busy. But I always think, but if you love it, you will make time for it. Right. And it's a good balance. I love doing beauty pageants. I love being Miss Brighton. So for me, it's like a hobby. But yes, I do have a full-time job as well. I work 8 till 6. So it's constantly busy. But I always know that when I have my work, I put my work away. Those office hours, that's it, and then the rest of the time I have for myself, and I also do a lot of charity work as well. But it's again finding that balance and going, look, today I'm going to go and play some sport, or I'm going to go for a walk. It is difficult, it is busy, but I think if you love it, you'll make the time. But it shouldn't be a chore. It shouldn't be a chore. I find that if you find any sport or any activity a chore, then it's not the right thing for you. And you'll know when it's the right thing for you because you'll want to go and do it every single second. Like, I'd love to go and play rugby right now.
Yeah, because it's fun for you. So thank you so much. You've been giving us like so many gems and nuggets of how to hack this, how to be a female, thrive, how to be in sports, thrive, how to be a beauty queen, still thrive, and then be passionate enough to project that in the next 5 years, you want to be doing more. And I wish you all the best in your quest to becoming Miss Great Britain. Thank you very much. I think we're going to call it an evening, and I know we'll continue talking on our social media platforms. Those who are logging in, I will link your not YouTube, but I will link your social media handles on all our social media for this podcast episode. And maybe I might even invite you again at some other time.
I'd love that, honestly. And thank you so much for having me. And, you know, as I said, anyone that's watching now that would love to chat to me more about anything that I've spoken about, then my inboxes are always open. I always love meeting people and chatting to people all around the world. So, you know, if I can help you in any way, then just get in touch. Or if you want to try rugby and you don't know anything about it, then get in touch. I'll happily tell you.
I will be bringing a lot of people your way. So thank you so much, Danielle. Have a blessed evening. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much.